As I was laying in the bed, I started to feel like I was dialing in. So I started passing over into what we call the astral plane. And then based on how I was crossing into the astral plane was determining how present I was in that space. But it was primarily determined by one factor, because there's so many different techniques. And this one factor is whether I saw it as myself versus whether I just felt the experience and accepted that it was not me, or the being that I directly am calling me. And let me explain this. Again, and what I'm explaining is basically a gateway or a key to what I just call the sun key. So again, when you're looking into your consciousness and you start to go into that phase where you're making a transition, and then you start thinking about what you're going to transition into. This is like conscious, basically conscious world loading. So like wherever I'm going to go into right now, when I'm sliding out of conscious state into the subconscious, I'm going to arrive there. But many people have tried that and they just find themselves kind of lost. It's like they just fall asleep and then wake up in the morning like, man, what was I even thinking before I went to bed? Oh yeah, maybe if they can write it down. Like I was thinking about, being on an island or being in a paradise. And I tried to go into this dream, and I started off, and when I started thinking about me in the paradise, in the dream. And then generally you just have this hard cutoff and you end up in the dream. And it's a whole different dream, not a dream that you necessarily projected. And I trust that I'm going to be able to make this very, very clear for you. I started realizing how to actually make the dream or astral plane that I wanted to go into be what I was thinking before I go to bed. And the key component was, or early in the morning, if I was just going to go back into the astral plane for a minute, the key component was, whether I switched on in the mind, that's you on that island in paradise. And then when I started seeing myself on this island in paradise, I started to try to match my face and my identity here with this projection that I was creating of an island in a paradise. And every time I was doing that, I was getting like this, that's the easiest way I can explain it. Like like that's not how it works. Go to sleep. Right? And then I will go to sleep. But then on certain occasions, I will actually be in, right? I would actually be in, and I'd be like, man, how did I get in this time? What did I do? And I would kind of like miss it, because it's that close in your consciousness. It's like a key in itself. That's why I call it the sun key. It's like that moment where you're like, all right, am I expecting to see? And this is what happened just recently, and that's what really opened up a lot of stuff. I stopped for a moment when it was happening. I was like, wait a minute, am I expecting to see myself in this situation that I'm projecting myself into? Because I want to go here. I want to experience that. I want to go to another planet. I'm going to go do this and this. This is how the planet's going to be like. And I start loading it all up. And the reason why I'm drilling in on this is because it is so key for real to actually understanding what we really are capable of doing, especially as the observers, rather than the dualistic binary worker, basically, that is actually carrying out all of the data-driven tasks to update the DNA on a continuous level as it keeps evolving. How to actually really understand that the ancient knowledge, what it exists of, is actually how you can experience anything and how you are everything. There was a key to that, though. That key also exists in how the dream generally plays out anyway, whether you're paying attention or not, which is one, a dream never starts from quote unquote the beginning. Right? And so there's just this part of the dream where, you just kind of dive right into the dream. Also in the dream, you think you're yourself. But there's a lot of evidence that the character that is behind those eyes is not exactly you, as you know yourself over here. And that's the whole thing with the mirror and the mirroring of things and the subconscious, that you end up not really being. I want to make sure I'm very careful at how I put this. So you end up not being the same identity as the being that you are here. And because you're everything, and that's what we keep saying. It's like, yo, you're everything, you're everyone, your reflections of everyone, right? And it's almost like a mantra, but it's like people aren't getting it. That and if you understood what really was, what is beyond this, you could go through the eye of the sun, which is the oculus, and peer out from the oculus, not as anything of being yourself, but so you can actually be everything. So anything that you wanted to feel, you could feel it, as long as you didn't imagine that this character here was the one that was feeling it. And this is the strangest thing. It reminds me of why I feel this is a very voyeuristic reality, where real powerful energies move through all of the things that we see, whether it wants to be a dolphin or a whale today, whether it wants to be a volcano and what that is like, whether it wants to be Sevan Bomar, whether it wants to be that tree, whatever. Real powerful consciousnesses are just moving through everything in the space because they don't have attachment to an ID.